Hello, my name is Keshwani. It's Keshwani, Keshwani. We are here because we want to improve our English. We want to improve our vocabulary. We do so by learning few new words every day. The very first word that we want to learn today, let's get going for today then. Today is day number 20. Day number 20, which means tomorrow, since I give quiz every 5 days, today is day number 20, which means tomorrow we will have quiz number 4, which will cover all the words, quiz number 4, which will cover all the words that we learned from day 16 through 20. Number 20. The first word we want to cover, the first word we want to talk about is cavalier. Cavalier. What does it mean? Well, this particular word has two meanings. It has a literal meaning and it has a metaphorical meaning. So let me explain to you what's going on here. Literally, it simply means mounted soldier or soldier on a horse. Question is, as opposed to what? Mounted soldier as opposed to what? As opposed to a mounted soldier as opposed to a foot soldier. You understand? These words come from a long time ago. So back in the old days, when the armies fought, there were usually two kinds of soldiers. Soldiers that were mounted on horses, and soldiers who were on foot soldiers. Which one do you suppose belonged to a higher class of the society, upper class of the societies? Obviously the mounted soldiers which were on the horses, who usually were knights and people of that caliber. The mounted soldier were usually the landowners, and the foot soldiers were usually the peasants, the illiterate peasants, by the boatload. Hence the distinction, the mounted soldier and the foot soldier. And therefore, the people who were mounted on a horse, they had the tendency to look down on the foot soldiers because they were landowners, they were the upper classes, they looked down on the foot soldier. And from that, we have the word cavalier, which means to have. Now, look down in the sense that to be cavalier means that since they were on the horse, they were not on the ground. They felt, well, I'm safe. I'm safe because I'm mounted on a horse. I can go faster. Nothing is going to happen to me. It's the peasants who are going to get killed, not me. I'm safe. I'm surrounded by these peasants. I'm safe. I'm higher up from the ground. Nothing is going to happen to me. To have that kind of carefree attitude is what it means to be cavalier. To have a carefree attitude. Or if you want to put it in a colloquial sense, it means, well, you just pretend that nothing is going to happen. Nothing is going to happen to me. As in, I'm safe. Why should I worry about it? Why should I bother with it? Nothing is going to happen to me. To be carefree, right here. To be carefree, to be gay, to be offhand. If you're being offhand, you shrug your, no big deal. Well, that's a cavalier attitude. Do you understand? Watch out, you're going 90 miles an hour. It's a 50-mile zone. You're going 90 miles an hour, slow down. And you shrug your shoulders, nothing is going to happen. I've never been caught. You're being cavalier. Do you understand? It means to be haughty. It means to be arrogant. Now, by the time we go to haughty and arrogant, I'm sort of stretching the meaning of the word, but because it doesn't quite mean to be haughty in that such a strong sense. It just means to be carefree. It just means that you are nonchalant. Here you go. That's a good word. To be nonchalant. To be nonchalant. We will learn this word next, okay? That's why it's in the capital letter, to be nonchalant. One more time, nonchalant means exactly all of these things that we talked about. To be nonchalant means to have an attitude that I'm cool, I'm so carefree, I'm so unconcerned about anything because, nothing is going to happen to me. It's because I'm me. Nothing happens to me. You're being cocky, you're being arrogant, you're being nonchalant, you're being cavalier. Do you understand? Let's erase this thing and let's learn this word, cavalier. Again, cavalier has two meanings. Literally it means mounted soldier as opposed to a foot soldier. And from that we have derived the meaning, the concept of being arrogant, to being haughty, to be offhand, to be carefree. Sometimes guys come across as nonchalant because they are trying to impress the opposite sex so badly. They think that playing cool is going to impress her. The playing cool is to be cavalier. That's the word we want to learn next. Nonchalant is pronounced non-show-lant. It's an adjective. It means to be, well, I'm not going to write down the meanings one more time. It just means all the words that we talked about just now. To be carefree, to be offhand, to have the attitude that nothing is going to happen to me. Do you understand? That was the word nonchalant. I could have written down the pronunciation right there and be done with it. But anyway, that was the word. It means to be cool. It means to be carefree. It means to be casually unconcerned about what is important. Do you understand? If you pick up a hot boiling cup of tea and she tries to warn you, it's too hot, it's boiling hot, and you take the sip anyway because you're so cool, nothing happens to you. You're being cavalier. Even though you know you're going to get burned, but you're pretending to be cavalier in that context because you're so cool. That's what it is, nonchalant. To have a casual disregard. Oh, how about that? To have casual disregard for something that is important. There we go. That's the precise definition. To have casual disregard for something that is important. Okay, let's go on to the next word. But before I go to the next word, I want to write this down actually, the last part that I just wrote down, because I like it. And if I try to remember it again, it will never come back to me. To have casual disregard for something that is important. Let me underline the word is. Something we know is important, and yet the person shows a casual disregard. Let's go on to the next word. That's it, that was the end of it. And it's pronounced nonchalant. Make a note of it. Even though we have the word letter CH, it's not pronounced ch, it's pronounced sh, nonchalant. Let's go on to next word. The next word I want to learn is philistine. Philistine. It's a noun. What is a philistine? Or to be more precise, what does it mean to be philistine? Philistine means to be, a philistine is a noun. It is an uncultured, unrefined, person. A person who is not very well read, a person who has not been to lots of different parts of the world, a person who is very narrow-minded, not very refined, not very broad-minded. I'm repeating myself. That person, such a person, might be referred to as philistine, uncultured person, an unrefined person. The narrow-minded was not actually precise, because you could be a philistine and a very broad-minded philistine. It just means you're very uncultured. You're not into arts and high culture. For example, or a person who is not concerned with arts, with music, etc. Person who does not appreciate or understand. A person who does not appreciate or understand finer things in life. Let me give you an example of a bunch of Philistines. And I have to be very careful how I put it, because I cannot use the name of certain establishment. So I'm going to leave it up to your imagination to come up with the fill in the blanks. They go to Paris. They arrive at Paris, and instead of eating some local cuisine, fine food that the French make, or even something simple as baguette, they would rather stand in the line. You will find a whole bloody lot of them in a line in a fast food restaurant, which I will not name. They will look for this fast food restaurant that they can very easily find in their homeland on every block, and they would go and buy, let's not even use the name of the sandwich, they would buy a fast food sandwich. Bunch of Philistines are there. Do you understand? They have no appreciation for finer things in life. They are stuck with their certain sandwich that they're used to buying in a fast food restaurant, full of fat and full of other stuff. Maybe not. I'm sure they make a fine food. This is just my opinion. Do you understand? These are not facts. This is my opinion because, after all, one has to always make sure that one keeps one's derriere covered. It is not a very good feeling to have one's derriere exposed. So that's what one is doing right now. Do you understand? So that's what Philistine is. A person who is not very refined, a person who is not very cultured, a person who does not understand or appreciate finer things in life. A Philistine is a boor, which is a word that I'm going to cover next, which is why it's in the capital letter. So that's it. I'm done with the word Philistine. Let's go to the next word. The word is, and it's pronounced exactly the way it's written, no trick to it, bore. It's a noun. Literally it means a peasant. Literally, a bore is a peasant. Metaphorically, it means a person with ill-refined manners. Person with ill-refined manners, a person with ill-refined etiquette, a person with ill-refined decorum. Decorum, that's the U. Decorum. Decorum is the word that I want to cover next. Decorum basically means etiquette. You know what etiquette means, you know what manners means, that's what decorum is. But I want to cover it anyway by itself next. So again, a bore literally means peasants. Now you understand these meanings that we are explaining right now, they come from the olden days where people had prejudices, where people who lived in the city, the urban area, always looked down on the people who lived in the rural area, in the countryside. And they always looked down on peasant as being ill-refined and uncultured. Because in those days, the peasants were not literate, they did not go to school. And people in the urban area had a tendency to look down on them. And this is that's the heritage of the language. And therefore, bore literally means a peasant, and metaphorically it means a person with an ill-refined manners or etiquettes or decorum. But one does not need to be peasant to be that, or a peasant does not need to be a bore. You can have a very well-refined, very cultured peasant, and similarly, vice versa, you can have a person living in the urban area, and in New York City I found many bores. Do you understand? It just means a person with poor manners, poor etiquette, poor decorum. If you have a poor etiquette, if you have poor manners, if your manners are not very refined, they are not very polished, you have poor etiquettes, you do not have proper decorum, you are said to be a bore. Let's learn that word. Let's learn that word, decorum. Decorum. It just means proper manners. If you have decorums, you have proper manners, you have proper behavior, you have proper etiquettes. That's it. The adjective, so decorum is a noun. Right here is a noun. The adjective of decorum would be, which is why I wanted to cover the word separately, would be this word, and the tricky part is the pronunciation. So I'm going to put down here pronunciation first. Us. It's pronounced decorous. A person who is decorous, is someone who has very well-refined manners, who has proper etiquettes, who has proper behavior. A person who is decorous is said to have decorum, is said to have manners, is said to have etiquettes. Okay, one more time. If a person is decorous, I'm using it as an adjective here now, right here. If the person is decorous, the person is said to have decorum, and is pronounced decorous. That's it. We are done for today. I hope you found it helpful. I hope you found it informative. I hope you learned some new words out of this clip, and I hope to see you tomorrow for the quiz number 4. At the end of every 5 days, we take a quiz. Listen, if you wish to get hold of me for personal private tutoring for any of these tests, I offer prep courses for GRE, GMAT, SAT and TOEFL. If you're preparing for any of these tests, and if there is anything at all that I can do to help you in your preparation, go to any of these website addresses and send me an email. Or you can go to kashwaniprep.com and send me an email from there. Alright? I do private tutoring, face-to-face tutoring. I also tutor over the internet via Skype, and I do tutoring over the telephone also. Alright? Thank you.